been thinking about the Saints a lot lately, obviously, Jake, right? It's Combine Week, talk about the future, quarterback talk, and the Saints seem to be at a bit of a existential crossroads in some way. And I've been kind of really trying to dive into my brain and say, okay, why do I really want Derek Carr? Why do I want the Saints try to continue to win now? And I think I finally gained some insight yesterday. As I think what it is, Jake, I have a fear, and I don't know how well represented, boys. Y'all can, I would love for Mario and Danny, who are massive Saints fans, to see if I'm off base here. But what I think is I need the Saints to prove that they are more than the Peyton and Breeze era, right? Because if you look at Saints history, while it's been like, if you are Mario and Danny's age, your entire life, and my age, actually, honestly, pretty much my entire life, the Saints have been awesome. You know, they've been relevant every year. You could realistically think, you know what, there's a chance for a championship, or you know what, they should win the NFC South this year. Like, that has been the case for nearly 2 decades. But for about 4 decades before that, right? Like the other 40 years compared to this 15 or 16, you've kind of been a laughingstock. Save for a little bit of the Dome Patrol, late 80s canon, all that sort of stuff. But even then, you never won a playoff game, right? And so I guess what I'm saying is, if you look at the Saints franchise history body of evidence, you have been really bad the vast majority of the time. And what I'm worried about is if you do start, falling off and you don't try to continue to win now and you engage in some sort of, and you go down to like 4-13 or something, that you might end up stuck there because that's where you've always been, right? And so I guess I just have a fear of reverting to what you've always been, and that no, you can't actually be better because it was really just Peyton and Breeze kind of dragging you up, as opposed to like you look at some of these NFL franchises, Jake, and their success transcends coaches. It transcends eras. Like, you have consistent winning franchises. Yeah, Steelers is a perfect example. Like, from where I sit, and I don't know that a lot of people would agree with this, I would love to do what the Steelers have done for the past 6 years. And I know Steeler fans are kind of over it. Like, they're sick of going like 9-8, 10-7, 8. I think, did they have is that no losing season streak still alive? Or did they kept it alive?
Still going.
I mean, it's unbelievable, right? So I want these Saints to show consistency over everything. And I think that in doing that, then you can establish, okay, we are larger than that era. We can, and that's how you eventually build a championship in the long term. I hate this idea of not trying to be as good as you can be now, and and then being like, well, and let's be a little, and if it doesn't work out, 4-13 sucks, but then you get a top draft pick, and then maybe you get your quarterback, and maybe there's some value there. But the fear for me would be, if you go down that route and you go something like 4-13, that you're just going to stay there because that's who you've always been.
So, like, this year, if you didn't trade last year's pick, like, you'd be selecting inside the top 10, and maybe, like, you would be signaling, like, a different direction because, like what you said, like, you were relevant for 2 decades.
Yeah.
And you never really had that fall off the cliff type season. And, like, a top 10 pick maybe could get you back on track. Maybe you get the quarterback and you're in a spot where you can move up to 7, you can move up to 6. It doesn't cost you that much if you're at 10, but obviously they traded that pick. So they are in a little bit of that crossroads that you talk about because they don't have the top pick. Their roster has holes. Now, it's not a roster that's in the bottom of the league still. I mean, I still would put them in the middle of the pack, but we thought they'd have a roster that would be in the top 10 of the NFL. It's not there. So they do have holes that they have to fill. And, thankfully you randomly traded, coach, I say randomly because it felt like it wasn't going to happen, and it doesn't happen often in the NFL. Luckily, you got that first-round pick, but it's at number 29. And so, like, what kind of value can you get there? So do you go like you did last offseason after another playoff run, right? Last year probably thought like maybe like a title run. Like, you felt like you had some really nice pieces. Yeah. Maybe you were a piece here or there away, and you had some faith in your quarterback. It obviously didn't work out.
God, preseason was such a good time.
Or do you start to I went to the Chargers game. They smashed Jameis hitting Jarvis Landry over the middle. I'm like, oh, man, it's going to be great. But now, like, you really have to decide because you are at a point where you're going to go one way or the other. Like, I don't feel like the Saints are going to be middle of the pack. It's going to be they're going to be 4 wins, or they're going to go win the NFC South, which is very winnable right now, and they're going to continue to try to hold it together, piece it together with the current roster that they have.
And I guess what I'm advocating for is the piecing it together, right? I'm advocating for trying to maintain as competitive, like to be as competitive as possible, while trying to again build towards a championship. And I think that play is Derek Carr at that 25 to 30 number, like we talked about yesterday. Now, I don't know if this is possible. Maybe I'm just trying to look for too perfect of a world. I don't want to commit to Carr for 3 years, or I want a contract that's maybe 3 or 4 years, but it's like, you can get out of it in that 3rd year if you want to. I don't know if Carr's side would accept that. But yeah, I think I want to sign Carr and then maybe spend a draft pick on a quarterback, see if you can develop him behind him, and see where it goes from there. But like I do think I'm very much on the record, and I believe this. I think if you sign Derek Carr, barring something insane like Lamar Jackson to Atlanta, I think you're going to win the NFC South. I don't know that I can say that with Baker Mayfield. I don't know that I can say that with Andy Dalton. I don't know that I can say that. Well, I'm not going to say Jameis, because unfortunately that's just not going to happen. But we'll see. We'll see. Word on the street is that the Panthers meeting with Derek Carr went very well yesterday, for whatever that is worth. I wonder if the Panthers really are not looking to invest like they said originally, or if maybe they're putting up a bit of a smokescreen.
So Phil Yates had an article yesterday, and he predicted every starting quarterback next year for all 32 teams. And Phil Yates is pretty locked in. Yeah. He's got his ear to the ground for sure. Anybody want to take a guess at the projected 2023 starter for the New Orleans Saints?
I'll let them guess, because I'm pretty sure I know the answer.
I'll say Derek Carr.
Danny?
Andy Dalton.
It's Baker Mayfield, right?
It's Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. Holden Mayo is crying tears of joy out there somewhere. Red bean tears, as he has been a Baker boy. A Baker boy for a long time. Look, I'm not,
His breakdown.
I'm not opposed to Baker.
Mayfield showed well in a small sample size with the Rams late last season. Yeah. He's an imperfect player, but I truly believe quarterback context matters. When put in a system with capable coaching and playmakers, he's got a savvy game. Mayfield can help you win football games.
I don't. He would be my second choice. If we're looking at everything, he would be my second choice. And really, Baker's got an odd career where if you just looked him up statistically, you'd be like, wait, Baker's actually good. Like, he set the NFL record for touchdown passes from a rookie, which I think maybe Joe Burrow later broke. I'm not 100% on that. But he set the record. He was above average to good, never hit great, but kind of trending there for a few years. And then it all goes, it's just, will he ever bounce back from trying to play through injuries 2 years ago?
Yeah. I think Baker has to have, like, I don't want to say unique. I don't think it has to be that far, but he's got to have some play calling that is creative.
Okay, great. Perfect. That's, yes.
And that doesn't make me feel great.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because you have, like, the forever, never-ending conversation of you having Taysom and not really knowing exactly what to do or being consistent with what you do with Taysom, right, wrong, or indifferent. It's not consistently good. It's not consistently bad. It's not consistently used. It's all over the place. And so, like, that doesn't make me feel great. Now, Baker, I'm not saying Baker's that type of player, but Baker does do well kind of in organized chaos.
Yeah.
It feels like that's where he thrives. And like the 49ers offense is organized chaos. Like all that moving, all that shifting, all those things that they do, it's got a plan, but it's chaotic. Like It's got to be just right, and there's attention to detail within that. I think Baker would thrive in something like that. But I just don't know that the Saints have the play callers to be able to go out there and do that. At least they did not show it in any way last year. One of the most conservative playbooks, if not the most conservative in the NFL.
And it resulted in 18 points a game.
Yeah.
Right. And then like we talked about,
it was safe.
18 points a game with your quarterback putting up very efficient numbers, but very safe numbers. So, so that's where I get worried about a defensive head coach. So, Jake, like, is that the directive? Yeah. Is that the core philosophy that's being handed down? And can you expect that to change? You would hope that it would, because Dennis Allen is feeling the heat, but I guess only time will tell in that regard. So, yeah, I guess that's where I'm at on March 2nd, 2023. I've decided that I want the Saints to try everything they can to win and stay relevant and not revert to who they have been for much of their franchise history. I've decided that I want Derek Carr first, but maybe not on a 3-year deal. And then if not him, I am down for to be a little Baker boy myself. So, Danny, why are you shaking your head? You don't want to be a Baker boy?
No, I after seeing what he did with the Rams,
Yeah, he won that game on like
Saints.
48 hours practice. It was
Yeah, what
badass.
happened after that?
I don't know.
I think he had, what,
I
4
didn't watch-
touchdowns, 1 pick?
Yeah, I didn't watch after that.
For what it's worth, it has the Jets starting quarterback is Jimmy Garoppolo and not Derek Carr.
So it has Carr going to Carolina? Where's Carr going in this thing?
Let's see. A lot of teams here.
32.
I was gonna.
It has Carolina's
32.
Derek Carr, yeah.
Okay. It seems to be. There seems to be kind of a groundswell of whispers connecting Carolina and Derek Carr more and more and more.
It has Kyle Trask as Tampa's starter, kind of just
Well,
to give
Tampa's
you a-
been saying that.
yeah.
Or whatever that's
well, they're going
worth.
to give him the option.
Yeah.
The only one it has, at least the only one I see that has kind of undecided because that's 2 guys, is the 49ers. He's got Trey Lance / Brock Purdy.
And so Purdy is going to be available next season. I had that report wrong, right? Okay. I mean, I guess they have to try to make Trey Lance work. What about
Falcons Desmond Ritter to round out the NFC South.
See, the Falcons have reverted to who they've always been, and the Saints and Falcons have really, outside the Breeze Payton era, always been the same franchises in a lot of ways. That feels like a tank move. That feels like we want Caleb Williams. We have this young quarterback. Let's just and again, this is how this young quarterback thing works, right? And this is what a lot of Saints fans want them to engage in. Play the young guy because maybe he hits, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
But likely he, like especially what you saw out of Ritter last year, Jake. I know you didn't think that you saw much when we've talked about this in the past.
Yeah.
And then if he doesn't hit, well, then you're in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes.
For some reason, people think that Desmond Ritter was a first-round pick. Like, when you have those conversations, like, they just took Ritter in the first round. It's like, no, they took him in third. Like, he's a third-round pick. So they don't have, like, this huge investment. I mean, he wasn't even the first. It's, like, middle of the third round.
Yeah.
So there's not this huge investment in Desmond Ritter. They don't, and we've talked about this so many times, they don't feel like they owe Desmond Ritter anything or they have to force him to play like you would with a first-round pick. I mean, he was 74th overall.
Yeah.
So if he goes in there and plays well, it's great. But they're not just going to have to play him because they have these assets that are tied to him.
No, that's why they're in a perfect tank spot, right? Now, it's not perfect for Arthur Smith, right? Because it would suck to be a head coach in that position. But if I'm the GM of Atlanta and I've decided that I hate all the other quarterback options and I don't want to remain as competitive as possible, rolling Ritter out there. And then again, a very good, who all is in next year's draft class? Caleb Williams, Drake May, there's going to be quite a few. Is Drake May? Yeah, because he redshirted, right?
Drake May, yeah, he redshirted.
Yeah, so he will be next year. So potentially, we'll see. But hey, okay, final question as we go to break. And if who wins the NFC South? If Derek Carr's on the Panthers and Baker Mayfield.